Welcome to the world of Runecraft, where this dude is running for his life from a bunch of armed villagers who are calling him a monster. They're threatening him never to come back because he's got a curse that brings destruction wherever he goes. But lucky for him, a noble family finds him barely alive. They use Runecraft to heal him and later take him to their village. Fast forward 7 years, and someone rolls into the same village looking for a cursed runecaster. A few nobles start getting on their nerves, and the two guys report back to their creepy boss that they didn't find any runecaster. Without a second thought, the hooded boss stabs one of them and kills him like it's nothing. Then this freaky-looking guy says he can smell the rune from miles away in this village. He's got a point. Our hero, along with the same family that helped him, is hiding under a tree. They named him Van, and he's apologizing because those guys chased him and stirred up trouble. The old dude tells him to chill out and stop apologizing, acting all relaxed about it. His wife playfully wipes the dirt off their faces with a warm smile. Their daughter Linda chimes in that Van is really into this tree. It's special because the family saved his life 7 years back, making it a memorable spot. The dad starts playfully roughhousing with Van and asks his wife about the wedding prep. She says it's all set for sunset. Later that night, the whole village gathers around a huge bonfire for a festival. Van looks a bit stressed, but Linda is calm and confident. The dad, acting as the priest, marries them. Linda goes all out with her vows, promising an unreal level of happiness. As the crowd cheers, Van starts his vows with an apology for all the trouble he's caused. He recalls the day they saved him when he was half dead, saying he wouldn't be here without them. Just as he's about to dive into a boring speech, Linda punches him in the face and yells at him to shut it. She tells Van that if they were really scared of his curse, they wouldn't have bothered saving him in the first place. She reminds him how he had their backs during the village attack. Now, no matter what happens, they'll tackle it together like a family. The whole village starts cheering and poking fun at Van for being such a softie. His dad chimes in, telling everyone to get on with the wedding already. Van finally gets his act together, says "I love you," and pulls her in for a kiss. Cue the creepy spider horror music, and of course some shadowy figure is lurking around, grinning like a weirdo and sarcastically saying he's really getting emotional over this. At the village bonfire, a massive green explosion completely blows away the wedding ground. People scream in pain, and our hero sees his arm covered in blood. His face shows nothing but fear as he watches the ground littered with the dead bodies of his caring villagers. A massive void of dark energy has erased the festival from the map. My guy collapses to the ground, letting out a soul-crushing scream because he is having a full-blown mental breakdown to see bodies littered in blood. He sees his adoptive mom and dad in the most horrific situation imaginable. Panic hits him as he questions why he wasn't the one in that mess. Suddenly, the boss monster sneaks up behind him with a creepy peekaboo. Before Van can even wrap his head around it, he gets slammed across the clearing by an unseen hit. He hits the ground hard, coughing and struggling to catch his breath. The boss grabs the girl he loves most by the hair, saying, "No matter where you hide, your curse can't be hidden from me." Our hero asks the bastard who he is and why he slaughtered everyone. The shark-mouthed monster says he's just here for business. Someone wants the true rune Van that was born with. He adds that he actually pities the survivors suffering around them, so he'll end their pain quickly by burning them. But Van shouldn't take it personally. He's just a hired killer doing his job. Shadowy hands start dragging our stunned boy into the darkness. The villain mentions that the client gave him a pocket dimension prison, where he plans to keep Van trapped for over 1,000 years. He tells our boy to play nice until he decides to let him out. Then the jerk holds up Linda's body by her hair, and she coughs up a bit of blood. As Van gets pulled into the void, he can't do anything but cry a little. The whole place swallows him up, and it's even worse inside. But what really tears him apart are his thoughts. He wants to believe that all the bad stuff in his life isn't just because of his rune. But deep down, he knows his existence has only ever brought pain and death. From the moment he was born, it felt like he was stuck with a fate he could never escape. Even if he had accepted things sooner, could the people he cared about still be alive? For a moment, he thought things might have turned out differently. He kept blaming himself, convinced that his greed and silly desires were the reasons everyone died. He lost track of how many times he felt bad about it, but he didn't want their forgiveness. It felt like he was lying in a pool of blood. It's hard for him to wrap his head around the idea that there could be a god who would let someone like him suffer this way. He just wants the pain to end, wishing he could rest forever. Suddenly, a vision of Linda appears, telling him that none of this was his fault and she always loved him. His eyes snap open as Linda's final words cut through his self-pity. He pushes himself up but blames himself all over again for being the reason everyone's dead. A creepy eye pops up, telling our guy to quit being such a coward. The voice booms, reminding him he can't kick the bucket just yet. He's still got a job to do. Gritting his teeth, he channels his grief into a wild rage, accepting his mission and getting back on his feet. Our guy finally loses it, letting the cursed rune take over as he goes full-on demon. The voice chimes in again, saying the rune of Asura only brings chaos. But honestly, he couldn't care less. He's lost everything, so there's nothing holding him back. He's got this rage aimed straight at that shark-mouth freak who wanted his power, and he's set on making them feel the Asura curse. He promises his dead family he's coming for revenge. Death can chill until he's finished settling the score. But first, he's got to break free from this annoying subspace cage. The ghosts of his village are all over him, cursing him for their deaths. But he just pushes through, slicing through them one by one, battling these monsters from his own past. Years drag on, and he's still stuck beating the life out of his own guilt. Fast forward 400 years, and the rage-fueled grind just keeps on going. By 600, the narrator says he's walking the Asura path through total destruction. The spirits he's fighting scream in pain, showing just how deep his torment goes. But here's the kicker. He still doesn't know the real truth behind his curse. 1,000 years go by, and he's still stuck in that bloody nightmare, swinging non-stop. One massive ghost gets blown apart by a beam of pure rage, and from the sea of blood, our guy rises up, fully embracing his dark side. After a millennium of pain that nearly broke him, revenge is what keeps him intact. His insane power destroys the core of his prison, causing the whole place to cave in. The last ghost points at him before turning to dust. In the wreckage, he finally floats free, eyes wide open after centuries of suffering. A quick memory strikes him, Linda's voice asking if he wants to hear her dream. She smiles, talking about how all she wanted was to marry him, have a son and daughter, and create a place where he could finally be happy. She calls it their little haven, like that was all she ever needed. Then, just like that, we snap back to the present, and his face is all twisted with rage. The true power of the Asura Rune kicks in, forming that terrifying shark-toothed grin. The rune shows its full demonic face, while dark energy wraps around him, filled with the screams of his 1,000 years of torture. And in one huge explosion that feels like a nuke, he breaks through his prison, finally free at last. The kid gapes at his new demonic form, wondering if this is what true ruin really looks like. He learns that the Asura Rune can summon helms, and he can't help but think that if he had that power back then, maybe his family would have been safe. Suddenly, a nasty monster bursts up from the ground. Instead of freaking out, he smirks and throws a punch that breaks the sound barrier, sending a shockwave that smacks the monster hard. The hit is so powerful that the monster gets sent flying like a piece of wood, crashing down with a thud. But the kid isn't done. He jumps up for another punch, packing even more serious power this time. He calls it Annihilation Fist, the first weapon he's ever created from his mana. When he hits, it's like a mini nuclear explosion. The force blasts right through the monster's mouth, sending fire exploding out in all directions. Next, the scene switches to a quiet forest where some bandits are robbing the last survivor of a massacre. Suddenly, our guy shows up and straightforwardly asks what year it is. The bandit leader laughs, thinking he's lost his mind, and says it's the year 1500. That's when our guy realizes that only 5 years have passed in the real world while he's been stuck for 1,000. One bandit tries to sneak up on him, but his weapon shatters immediately. The rest of the bandits are frozen in place, realizing they've messed with the wrong person. Our guy gives them a cold glare and gets to work, taking the whole crew apart like it's nothing. He sends one flying with a lazy backhand and zips through the rest until the ground's soaked in red. When it's all said and done, the only one left is the bandit leader, freaking out in pure terror. Van smirks at him and calmly asks his next question. The continent of Outpost has been around forever, with tons of kingdoms built on the strength of Runecraft. The most legendary one is the Zoe Kingdom, which dominated for years thanks to its insane military power. Our guy shows a picture of those shark-faced monsters to a beaten-up thug who reluctantly admits he's seen someone like that. Maybe a sorcerer from the royal family of the Zoe Kingdom. Our hero demands every detail, and the goon spills the beans right away. The bandit recalls 5 years back when his crew was hired by a shady client. Turned out to be the shark-mouthed jerk who offered them a fat payday to hunt someone down and torch villages. They had no clue he was connected to the Zoe Kingdom sorcerers. They just wanted the cash. They burned the villages, and cleaning up the mess was a major hassle. Once they finished the job, the shark-mouth guy handed them their payment and vanished. Our hero asks if there was a girl with orange hair, and the bandit says yes, she was pretty enough to be sold off, but sadly she got burned too. Before he can say more crap, our hero crushes his jaw with a glowing fist. The scene shifts to Daegyul Mountain hideout, where a bunch of goons are beating up the slaves. Some bandit losers are checking out their new cage of captives while 2 guards hang out at the gate. One of the guards opens a window and a guy outside tells him to let him in while bringing some drinks. As soon as the guard opens the door, he gets hit with a brutal punch that takes him out instantly. The other guard tries to fight back, but our guy counters it. The guard throws a few more hits, but Van dodges them in style, all ready to strike back in a boxing stance. Then he throws a punch so hard it practically explodes the guard's body into pieces. The bandits stare in shock at the sudden blast. Our hero strolls in, dragging the dead guard behind him, saying he just wants to have a chat with the boss and has some questions. The bandits close in, asking if he's trying to get himself killed. That's when their huge boss steps in, telling everyone to back off and scolding them for being dumb. He notices our guy is a Runecraft user and introduces himself, asking what he's doing there. Our hero asks Daegyul about the Zoe Kingdom sorcerer and a mercenary named Kessarak. Daegyul is impressed that Van got so much info from his crew and wonders what's next. Van demands to know where Kessarak is to save their lives. The boss pretends he'll spill the beans, but suddenly his arm lights up with crystals. He smirks and says our guy can ask his corpse instead, then throws a punch that breaks the sound barrier. The blow sends our hero flying, and the crystal-armed brute sneers, saying the info won't do a dead man any good. Lying in the rubble, he realizes they aren't going to give up info with sweet talk. With pure killing intent, he looks up. The boss notices his energy, but before he knows it, our hero is suddenly right in his face. An enormous explosion rocks the place. The boss spits blood and screams in pain as our hero lands a punch in his gut, asking if he's really that strong. The boss grits his teeth and tries to swing back, cursing, but our hero dodges effortlessly. The boss swings again, but it doesn't connect. He starts spinning and hurls icy crystals at our hero, mocking him for being a newbie sorcerer and declaring that he won't take it easy anymore. Our hero walks straight into the hail of sharp crystals like it's nothing. His energy is so intense that the needles only barely touch him. He keeps his cool, stepping toward the boss despite the cuts. The boss can't figure out how this guy isn't feeling any pain. Our guy tells him to stop making him laugh, saying it feels more like an itch than anything else. The boss realized he was up against a total lunatic. He launched another attack, and crystals piled up around his arm until he had this massive crystal limb. He slammed it down at our hero. The kid figured that at worst he'd just get his skin torn off but would still survive. All he had to do was cut the nerves. Dark energy seeped from him. But honestly, the pain felt pretty minor compared to what he had endured in that dimensional prison. He threw a punch, packing in all the hurt and regret he carried. When their fists collided, the impact sent shockwaves rippling out. The boss was surprised to see our boy standing strong while he himself got pushed back. The force left a streak like a laser cutting through the sky, and our hero just watched as the guy vanished over the mountains. Turning to the remaining goons, he asked if they wanted to pick up where they left off. They were all freaking out, watching their boss disappear, and one by one they got taken out brutally. The last guy was coughing up blood as our hero sat on the pile of bodies, demanding to know if Kessarak was in the Nordia kingdom. The goons spilled everything and begged Van to let him live. Van just laughed, saying mercy was a joke, and then he slammed his hand down on the guy's neck to finish him off. Something stirred inside him, and he couldn't help but wonder what he was laughing at. If it were up to him, he'd charge into the Zoe kingdom right then and there, but he knew better than to trust a bunch of bandits or act on impulse. So our guy decides against storming the Zoe kingdom. Instead, he's determined to track down Kessarak himself and get the real story. Looking up, he makes a promise to his deceased family that their revenge is coming soon. He calls the pile of bodies a little gift, like a giant crucifix made of corpses. He stands there, taking it in like it's the cover of an album, then walks off, saying his revenge is just getting started. A flaming arrow shoots through the air, setting the bodies behind him ablaze as he heads toward his next destination, the Nordia Kingdom. We reach Nordia Kingdom, the next stop on our boy's revenge run. The crew hits Guild Street, packed with oddballs. The scene cuts to an interrogation where someone's face gets turned into red mist. A wounded survivor reveals that a woman named Anna Dalton has the info. Our hero mocks him, saying they could have just talked, then walks off from a pile of bodies like figuring out his next move. He needs to find Anna fast, clearly on edge. A flashback shows a huge blast of wild demonic energy. It's our boy's Asura power going nuts. The story drops a bit of lore, explaining mana as invisible space energy that lets people use Runecraft. Sorcerers use mana as fuel, their bodies acting like living batteries. Our hero explains that if a sorcerer loses control, they literally explode. Our boy's bandaged hand starts glowing red as he struggles to contain his power, but it bursts out in a massive beam that lights up the whole forest. When it's finally over, he's on all fours in a crater, breathing hard, admitting that was way too close. Most of his mana is sealed, so he's stuck running on low power, and if he loses control again, it'll be way worse than before. While thinking it over, a huge guy blocks his path and he tells the tall dude to move. This guy named Jenny, who mentions Anna Dalton, possesses the place, so no way is moving ahead. But our boy is surprised he finds the girl's place. So, he punches the guy without waiting more, and Jenny knocks out with just one jab. Our hero walks past the body toward a nearby bathhouse. Inside, the locals are shocked as three blindfolded goons confront him, asking who he is and where Jenny went. Van gets straight to the point, asking about the mercenary Kessarak. A woman bathing in a warm pool warns our boy that saying Kessarak name will get him killed. Our boy says her reaction proves she knows something and tells her to talk. The woman laughs, calls him crazy, and orders her men to tear him apart. She's Anna Dalton, Nordia Kingdom's top info broker. The trio powers up with purple energy, their bodies shifting into monstrous forms. In seconds, three massive, three-eyed wolf beasts stand ready to tear our boy apart. As the bathhouse brawl begins, the wolf trio charges at our boy like crazed rockets. Our hero wants to talk things out, but unfortunate for the enemies that love to get knocked from a guy 3 times shorter than him. One wolf attacks, but he moves aside, but the beast attacks again, and the boy slips aside and doesn't let him touch. Landing hard, he crouches low as his dark aura flares. The two still standing have no idea they're about to get wrecked. Our guy rockets forward like a missile, leaving a blazing trail across the bathhouse before his fist slams into a wolf's body. The strikes create a laser that tears through the body of the monster and creates a hole behind them. Our boy stands over the wreckage and asks Anna if she will talk now. Anna realizes he's a sorcerer but says Kessarak's long gone. He asks where Kessarak went. She plays the merchant card, demanding payment. Van actually asks the price, catching her off guard, then claims he only kills people who attack first. Anna names her price, 10,000 gold, for Kessarak's info. Our boy says it's a lot, but she smugly says no money means no answers. As our boy steps closer, he asks if that's really all it takes to make her talk. Anna asks why he's hunting Kessarak with those insane red eyes. The info broker gets a little too personal, asking if Kessarak killed his family. Our boy tells her to mind her own business and threatens to rip her mouth open. Anna just smirks, calling him bold, clearly not taking the threat seriously. However, the scene cuts to Mercenary Street. Van signs up as a mercenary and asks when he can start, but they tell him rookies have to wait for jobs. Sitting at the bar, he sighs, realizing he needs cash while chasing leads. He admits he first thought about threatening Anna again, but decides she's too strong to mess with. Then a hooded girl shows up, asking for rookie mercenary work while acting all mysterious. Our boy side-eyes her, wondering if he'll end up punching her too. The creepy receptionist points out that Van's also a rookie. The girl named Leon turns to him, lowers her hood, and says she has a simple job to take responsibility for one night. Both Van and the receptionist go quiet, confused by the weird offer. The receptionist jokes she should try the red light district for that, and the girl immediately panics, yelling that it's not what she meant. Leon clears up the misunderstanding, saying she's hiring bodyguards, not whatever the receptionist was hinting at. Our boy says he's not working for a crazy person, but when a big bald guy steps up and she offers 10,000 gold, our hero stops. It's exactly what he needs for Anna's intel. Leon denies the bald guy, saying veterans can't take rookie jobs. The guy grabs Leon and demands she hire him. Our boy steps in, glaring coldly and calling him garbage. He tells the thug to let her go, then calls Leon his precious employer and the man a filthy meat sack, going full psycho mode. Flashback kicks in, showing a village burning while someone begs for their kid's life. Soldiers tear through the place, one of them getting impaled mid-chaos. Somewhere else, a shady council talks about organ harvesting and plans to snatch a Leon family girl. Then this shark-faced freak orders his masked goon to hang up a gift, a man brutally crucified. The goon moves to obey, but his boss Merkel stops him. Lifting the corpse, the psycho grins and asks if his goon messed up, then laughs, saying one body isn't nearly enough for his masterpiece. The flashback ends with the whole village burning down. Back in the present, our boy eats a streak. Leon was not having it. She slams her hand later and yells she can't eat because Van is using the bald dude as a chair. When he jokes if she wants to try it, she just begs to be untied. In her head, she realizes this violent Nuteziobe is exactly who she needs. Our hero says his chair is too soft, then gets serious and asks for the escort job details. She explains it's a simple mission to the Uhuana Kingdom border. Our boy doubts a simple job paying 10,000 gold. He figures she's a runaway noble or a criminal. She claims her rich dad spoils her, but he doesn't buy it. When he pushes, she threatens to hire someone else, so he backs off and acts calm. She calls him a brat in her head. He shifts to pro mode and says they should go, and she agrees, surprised. The two head through the Gaseoso Mountains, and the trip seems smooth so far. When our boy says they're halfway, she relaxes. Right before he stops her, sensing something's off, our boy tells her to stay quiet as he senses Mana nearby. Something's moving fast through the trees straight toward them. He confirms they've got company, 4 figures closing in. One hulking monster with a red aura charges first, but our hero slips aside, watching the powerful impact it leaves. The shark face monster shows up, saying they need to capture the girl alive for the Leon family. Our boy tells her that was just a warning shot to test their enemies, then hides with her in the bushes. Suddenly he turns his head to see 3 masked assassins drop from above, kicking off the real fight. Our boy meets one of the assassins mid-air. Another goon goes for the girl, but our guy blocks one in front and slamming leg in one behind. As 2 more try a pincer move and end up clashing with each other while our boy carries the girl and jumps behind. Van then sighs in annoyance. His hand glows with dark energy as he warns Leon to stay behind him no matter what. She quickly agrees, clearly scared by how serious he's gotten. Our boy asks if they're just more bandits. One of them says he can walk free if he hands over the girl, but our guy flips it and asks for 10,000 gold instead. The assassin calls him an idiot, and that's the last straw. Our boy launches forward, turning the goons into punching bags. His fists blur as he wrecks them one after another, breaking arms and bones like it's nothing. He stands there looking bored while they crumble under his speed. One smart goon runs for his life, but the rest still underestimate him, thinking he's just a kid. Our guy smirks, saying he was holding back for no reason. Then he vanishes into a dark blur, slicing through 2 assassins before they can even react. Our boy unleashes a rapid punch combo, completely destroying one of the goons. Tired of playing around, he charges his glowing fist and drops a shockwave punch that wipes out the entire group. The explosion leaves nothing but a bloody crater and a few boots. He stares at the mess, calling them worthless, while the girl watches in disbelief, stunned that someone younger than her has this kind of power. She even thinks her father would have been thrilled to see it. Then our guy senses a massive mana presence nearby. Someone's still alive. Smirking, he calls out the final enemy. The hulking monster Merkel steps out, revealing himself as a mad anatomist obsessed with organ harvesting. He offers to dissect our boy painlessly in exchange for the girl, but yeah, that's not happening. The psycho boss charges up a huge blast, ready to wipe out our guy. But Van stays calm and calls out to Leon, who's now panicking hard. With a grin, he exposes her fake story, leaving her speechless. He grabs her by the hood and hurls her into the air, saying he's done hearing her crap. She spins mid-air, freaking out before snapping back and yelling curses at him. Merkel's is taken back, but our hero is ever chill, so Merkel immediately halts his spell midway. We see the ground digged just the partial spell casted by Merkel, while Leon freaks out, yelling at Van for nearly killing her. Our hero realized the sorcerer twisted the spell mid-air. His mana control was sharp. It wasn't to kill Leon, but to capture her alive. So, he tells her he'll ignore her lies for now, then grabs her and says he's tossing her to safety. With the weakest reassurance ever, he flings her across the forest while she screams all the way. Merkel loses it and charges towards Leon. But our guy meets him mid-air with a blazing red punch that shuts him up. Van slams down, follows with a strike that shakes the ground, and unleashes a wild combo. However, Merkel lands as calm as ever. Our hero realizes his own attack got blocked by a barrier. Then comes the reveal. His power is tied to the rune of telekinesis, and he's itching to dissect Van next. Merkel fires off a telekinetic shockwave that sends our guy flying into an invisible wall. Van quickly counters with a blue blast, clashing against the unseen force. The two powers collide as he blocks one of Merkel's charged punches. The narration drops that Merkel's whole style is coating himself in telekinetic energy. Our boy digs in and smashes a punch into his chest, blasting a shockwave through the air. Merkel freezes as Van's fist phases clean through him, leaving a glowing hole out his back. Van pulls back, calm and locked in, then lands another hit that breaks through the freak's so-called shield. Merkel stumbles, shocked that his perfect defense just failed. Van admits this rune is a pain to deal with, while Merkel starts ranting that his power is beyond Van's. The freak tries buying our guy off, offering more cash to switch sides. Van just says he's already getting 10,000 gold, which makes Merkel crack up, mocking him for working so cheap. Van asks if his crew also robs civilians, looking disgusted. The shark face proudly admits it, trying to lure him to the dark side. Our boy's grin turns cold and dangerous, and you can tell it's over. The freak laughs, thinking they're the same, but Van says he's just laughing at himself for even talking to trash like him. His aura flares, pure rage burning off him as he vows to tear the freak apart. Merkel snaps, yelling that he should have joined, but it's too late. Van rushes in, raining down hits that shake the whole field. At last, his two final decisive blows break his invisible fence. The shark's face is vexed, but Van keeps hammering him and the monster loses his one arm. Then our boy slams another punch, slamming away the beast like a nothing, and a cloud of smoke rises by force, smack down. The shark face snaps, saying he's done wanting Van's organs and powers up a massive attack, yelling that this is the price for rejecting him. A blinding red pillar erupts, lighting up the whole forest. The shark face goes all in, screaming for our guy to turn to dust as he fires his ultimate move, telekinesis blood strike. The mountains shake, the forest gets torn apart, and the blast slams straight into Van, blowing everything up. Merkel can't believe Van's mana matches his own, demanding to know how his power got broken. Our boy stands firm in the wreckage, saying his strength isn't telekinesis, it's pure mana. His demonic form mocks the freak for not noticing the difference. Merkel panics, calling him a monster as Van smiles coldly and tells him to fall to hell. Then comes the lore drop, the rune of Asura, the source of Van's destruction gauntlets. Our guy activates them and goes to town, every punch landing hard enough to rewrite the freak's existence. Van's dark aura rages as he tears the freak apart with one last devastating hit. He stands over the wreck, his stitched-up hands showing, then calmly rewraps them like nothing happened. The shot pans out to the huge trench he left behind while he powers up again, just because he can. Our boy then decides it's time to track down the guy that hires this shark face to get his cursed rune. The story drops a full rune lore dump, showing crazy powers from blade transformations to time warping and mountain breaking. It explains these runes defy physics itself, then highlights Van's rune of Asura as the most dangerous of all. Our boy stands ready as the narration marks the start of his next bloody chapter. Cut to a calm valley before chaos returns. Van lands in front of his client, who somehow survived the throw. She immediately loses it, yelling at him for launching her across the forest, while he just stands there unfazed. He asks what else she's hiding, then shrugs it off, saying he doesn't care. He just wants his payment. Leon hands over the 10,000 gold, wrapping up the escort job. Our boy turns to leave, but she calls out, then instantly backs off, saying it's nothing. Her thoughts reveal she doesn't want to drag him into a coming war, deciding to face it alone as the scene fades with a sunset. Cut to the Nordia kingdom. Van drops the gold in front of the info broker, Anna, who lounges on her throne, impressed. He demands the intel, but she says she couldn't track Kessarak, saying he's too well hidden. Instead, she offers a lead, someone who might know his whereabouts. Then she asks if he's ever heard of a merc group called Tease. Tease's record is pure filth, murder, kidnapping, trafficking, the whole deal. The big reveal? Their leader is Kessarak himself. In just 5 years, the crew's grown strong enough to control an entire kingdom. Anna says finding Kessarak is nearly impossible now, but she's tracked down one of his top men. She shows our boy a photo of a scar-faced assassin, a legend with the rune of stealth and a perfect kill streak. Van instantly realizes this guy's his lead to Kessarak. His eyes glow red as he demands the location, and Anna casually gives it up. Cut to Bogra Kingdom. The place is already a massacre. Corpses stacked high and blood everywhere as the last survivors scream, knowing they're next. The walls drip with shadows as the attacker turns the gang into splattered silhouettes. A terrified goon watches a lone figure appear at the end of the hall, the same Scarface Anna mentioned. One survivor snaps, demanding to know why this is happening, and the assassin calmly says he's just following orders. He tells them they failed the mission Kessarak gave them, and that he's here on the boss's behalf. The goon rants that no one warned them their target had a monster bodyguard, blaming them for Merkel's death. Scarface just shrugs, admitting they didn't expect him to lose either. The survivor breaks down, furious they're being wiped out over one screw-up. Scarface coldly calls it punishment. Snapping completely, the goon screams and rallies the last of his crew for a final brawl. A rune user summons a giant mana hand to crush Scarface while the others dive in from above. Scarface doesn't even move, giving a quiet apology like he's about to end them all. The attacks close in, trapping him dead center. The glowing mana hand slams down, but in an instant, the Scarface vanishes. The old man freezes, realizing their perfect ambush just failed. He looks around in panic before spotting Scarface behind them, drenched in blood and calm as ever. The next second, the walls are painted red with what's left of his crew. A quiet moon shot follows, cooling the scene. In the corpse-filled yard, a hooded figure asks if the job's done. Scarface wipes off the blood, telling him to take a look around if he's unsure. The guy nervously compliments his work, but Scarface tells him to get lost. Before leaving, the hooded man mentions an investigation into Merkel's killer, who has dark scars on his face and neck. Scarface instantly gets it, realizing Van's next target. He cuts the guy off, saying he'll report the slaughter to Kessarak, then teleports away, flicking a cigarette like nothing happened. He recalls our hero's mark, while on the other hand, our hero asks Anna one last question. What is the goddamn name of the lead mercenary to Merkel? Anna says it's Hoxa, the T's mercenary executive. Terrified kids, Orphan and Maggot, find themselves cornered by a nightmare of a creature, like a mix of skeleton and snake, with two mouths ready to swallow them whole. Orphan panics, asking if there's any way out, but Magat freezes up, admitting he has no clue. Just as the beast lunges to end them, our guy drops from above like a meteor. He tears straight through the monster's body from the inside, ripping it apart until it collapses in a bloody heap. The kids cling to each other, trembling in shock. Our boy, wrapped in his cloak, asks if they are hurt. The blonde one nods and thanks him. He warns them the place is full of demons, and they must leave quickly. The kid insists they owe him their lives. He tells them not to worry, but the blonde one offers to treat him to a meal. His younger brother adds that they have a shop nearby. He turns them down, saying he's already looking for a shop nearby. The blonde asks which one and says they know every place around. When he mentions the Blue Night Tavern, both kids freeze since it's theirs. The blonde laughs at the coincidence while his brother jokes it's barely a shop. The blonde introduces himself as the cook and his brother as his helper. When he asks his name, he says Van, and they lead the way. The three reach the edge of Bogra Kingdom and enter Blue Night, where a few kids are waiting. Haisa complains they're late and says he already prepared everything. Our boy pats a kid's head and apologizes, saying they met a demon on the way. Haisa panics and asks if anyone is hurt. Orphan calms him, saying they're fine thanks to their savior. Still confused, Haisa asks who he is, and Orphan tells him to take their guest inside. They lead him in, and Orphan tells him to sit anywhere. Our boy looks around and asks if the kids run the place alone. Orphan says they live together as strays from different kingdoms, each with a sad past. Lily loses her parents to war. Haisa's village is wiped out by demons, and Maggot's family is killed by mercenaries. The old man who owns the shop takes them all in and raises them. Our boy repeats the old man, and Orphan nods, saying he's their first benefactor and the shop owner. Wondering where the guy is, Haisa says he probably crashed after coming home late last night. Annoyed, Orphan says he'll go wake him up and tells our boy to relax and enjoy his meal while he does. Orphan bursts into the old man's room and scolds him for still sleeping. Half awake, the man apologizes and asks for more rest. Orphan snaps that he should check on Magat, who almost died fighting a demon. The man jumps up and asks if the kid is hurt. Orphan says everyone is fine and their benefactor saved them. When he hears that, he asks who the savior is. Orphan explains it's the traveler who came looking for their shop. This guy decides he can't just lie around and insists on meeting him. They head downstairs and Orphan points out our boy sitting there. He walks up, thanking our hero for saving their kids. Our guy replies that it's nothing, but mentions something about the old man that feels familiar. He is right. This old man is Hoxa, Hoxa asks what he means, and our boy says he heard from an info broker that the shop's owner is supposed to be an incredible cook. Hoxa chuckles, calling it an unexpected request. Our boy asks if he can see those cooking skills himself and suggests Hoxa cook for him. Hoxa hesitates, saying the kids always crowd the kitchen and might disturb his rest. Our guy then suggests doing it early in the morning instead. Hoxa agrees, saying that's perfect since the kids will be asleep. Our boy decides to turn in early, and Hoxa tells the orphan to show him a room. As they walk off, the orphan notes it's rare for the old man to warm up to someone so fast. With a weird grin, Hoxa mutters that maybe kindred souls recognize each other. The orphan leads our guy to a room, tells him to call if he needs anything, and starts to leave. But our boy stops him, saying there's no need to thank him. He doesn't save them out of kindness. The orphan finds it funny, saying Uncle Hoxa once said the same thing after saving him. He wishes our boy good rest and leaves. That night, while our guy sleeps, Hoxa creeps into the room with the same weapon he uses on countless victims. Just as he goes to strike, our boy's eyes snap open. He catches the blade mid-swing and throws it aside. With a cold glare, he says he's been waiting for Hoxa. Later that night, Hoxa contacted a mysterious figure through a hologram. He reports that the man with black scars, the one suspected of killing Merkel, is in his tavern. The figure is shocked, but quickly orders Hoxa to summon him using the formation. Hoxa hesitates, saying if the enemy notices anything, he might escape, but promises to make sure he can't run before calling. The figure agrees and says he'll be waiting. Back in the tavern, our guy stares Hoxa down, calling him disgusting for pretending to care for kids while secretly murdering people. Hoxa sighs, saying he wishes he could have been a better adult. Our boy ignores the pity and demands to know where Kessarak is hiding. Hearing that name, Hoxa freezes, realizing our boy already knows everything about their group. Hoxa refuses to answer, saying he can't reveal that. Our boy's face turns cold as he warns that he'll see if Hoxa can still talk after losing his limbs one by one. Both ready for battle, Hoxa offers him one last chance to walk away. But our guy reminds him that offer means nothing after the earlier ambush. Accepting the fight, Hoxa pulls out a paper marked with strange symbols and activates it, flooding the room with blinding light. When the glow fades, our boy looks around, realizing he's no longer in the tavern, but trapped inside a cave surrounded by high stone walls. He recalls the paper and recognizes it as a formation rune, magic that stores power in symbols and releases it when charged with mana. Figuring it out, our guy realizes Hoxa has used the rune to teleport him into this trap and then escapes. Suddenly, our boy senses mana building up in the cave. His eyes widen just before the energy explodes toward him. He dodges fast, countering with a heavy punch, but it only cracks the stone wall. Hoxa is gone. Then, out of nowhere, a voice whispers behind him. Before he can react, a blade grazes his cheek, leaving a fresh scar. Furious at himself for missing the attack, our guy pulls back, realizing something is off. He can't see, hear, or even sense his enemy. That's when it hits him. This is Hoxa's true Runecraft. From above, Hoxa appears again, hidden by his concealment rune, which completely erases his presence. He dives down to strike, but our boy barely senses it and dodges in time. Fighting back in the dark, narrow cave is tough enough, but against an invisible enemy, it's nearly impossible. Even so, our guy keeps moving, tracking faint traces of mana. Hoxa is stunned that he can locate him at all. But before he can react, our boy grabs him by the neck and slams him to the ground. Coldly, he says hiding is pointless. He can still see his mana. In that moment, his ability is revealed. Truth Eye, the power to see even the faintest flow of mana invisible to normal senses. Hoxa stares in disbelief, calling it impossible, but our boy doesn't care. He slams him hard into the ground, splitting the stone beneath him. Blood spills as Hoxa coughs, admitting that in 40 years of killing, our guy is only the second runcaster ever to find him through mana alone. Van ignores it and demands again to know where Kessarak is hiding. Instead of answering, Hoxa starts rambling about his kids, calling them adorable, saying the orphan has just been acting a little scary lately. Our boy cuts him off, grabs his arm, and demands the truth. When Hoxa stays silent, Van rips his hand clean off. Blood pours everywhere, but even in agony, Hoxa finally speaks Kessarak's name. He says under Kessarak's command, he has killed countless people, turning into someone beyond redemption. Van's patience snaps. He warns that if Hoxa wants to confess again, he'll tear off the rest too. but Haxa only mutters that he can't die yet. He has to protect the kids. Then he apologizes, holding another rune paper in his remaining hand. Our boy's eyes widen as he realizes what's coming. The paper flares, the cave shakes, and a massive beast appears with a figure standing on top. The monster's punch sends our boy flying across the cavern. The rider glares down, furious, claiming he's finally found the runecaster who killed Merkel. Our guy stands back up, calm and cold, eyes fixed on him. With a deadly stare, he says, "They're not done talking yet." Our boy glances at his injured pet, noting the wound is deep. Nearby, Haxa's ally studies him. Black scars mark his eyes and neck, and his cornered state makes him look guilty of Merkel's death. Haxa warns that this sorcerer has tracked him through mana and that his power is impossible to read. Our guy appreciates the newcomers, young but impressive skills, and demands he answer honestly about Kessarak's whereabouts. Laughing, the newcomer says no one alive here would answer that. Removing his mask, he reveals himself as one of Bergeton's top mercenaries. Realizing talk is useless, our boy charges at full force. In a split second, he appears in front of them and senses his energy in his one arm. The mercenary's beast roars and lunges before our hero strikes, while Haxa moves to attack from behind. But our guy looks back as Haxa strikes along with the beast, and he leaps high, dodging easily. Then he smashes down a devastating punch, warning that blocking him is a mistake. The impact tears through the monster, splitting it in two with a burst of red-black energy. Without stopping, our boy dashes straight at the mercenary, ready to finish him once and for all. The old summoner mocks our boy, praising his skill for his age, but taunting him to see how he'll handle this army of beasts. This cocky dude is a rune summoner who links to another dimension, letting him store and release creatures at will. Our boy's resolve sharpens as he vows to cut them all down. But while he focuses, Haxa slips in and slashes his leg at flashing speed. Pain shoots through him as Haxa mocks that he's let his guard down. Before he can recover, the monster horde crashes onto him, tearing through with brutal force. Now he's stuck and in pain. Bergeton laughs in disbelief, saying most sorcerers would have died and asking what kind of runecraft this is. Our hero replies he's the one asking questions and tells them to answer while they still can. Bergeton laughs again, saying he admires our boy's fiery spirit and decides to make him part of Tease's assassin squad. But first, he'll remake him into his previous slave. The narration reveals his domination rune, a spell that breaks into a person's mind and reshapes them as the caster wishes. Our boy's eyes widened, shocked to see yet another rune. A sick green aura flares from Bergeton's hand as he sneers that our boy will be reborn soon. But the moment he activates it, Bergeton suddenly finds himself inside a dark red space, our boy's inner world. The narration explains that Bergeton has enslaved countless monsters and sorcerers before and has never failed. Bergeton believes that no matter how strong the opponent is, this time will be no different. But what he doesn't know is that the boy he faces isn't truly alive or dead. He has survived, fueled only by vengeance, enduring 1,000 long years in a dark abyss of pain. Within that abyss lies the boy's inner world, a place that births countless twisted monsters. Those dark creatures rise from our hero's back and begin corrupting Bergeton's spell. Back in reality, Bergeton gasps in shock. Our guy scolds him for daring to look so deep into another's mind. Overwhelmed by fear, Bergeton tries to deny what he sees, but it's too late. The monstrous horde surges toward him, and our boy follows with a crushing punch that sends him flying. It tears Bergeton's entire arm clean off, blood gushing like a waterfall. Haxa stands frozen, unable to believe that Bergeton's brainwashing has actually failed. One of them is locked in some strange cave while the other is peeking into other secrets, a situation that feels unbearably unpleasant. A powerful dark aura pulses from Van's body, growing intensely strong as he punches one of Bergeton's monsters with such force that not only the single monster, but all the surrounding ones are destroyed. A massive explosion follows, breaking the formation, and Bergeton and Haxa are thrown outward. Blood leaks from Haxa's mouth. Van, seeing their condition, considers the situation hopeless. He yanks Haxa's hair so hard that Haxa screams in pain. Van demands to know where Kessarak is, saying this will be the last time he asks. Haxa stays silent. Van releases him and says if Haxa refuses to speak, then so be it. He manifests a powerful red aura around his hand and declares that from this moment he will force Haxa to to talk. Haku's kids arrive and cover their father, pleading with our boy not to kill him. Haku cries out to the children, confronting them about being there. Oven urgently begs Van to spare Haku. Our boy says he hasn't killed Van yet and that Van might die during interrogation, implying he might kill them first so they should leave. Haku strikes Van from behind, ordering him to stop. Oven shouts Haku's name in alarm. Van demands to know what Haku is doing and whether he will get off him. The kids beg to be left alone. Haku urges everyone to run away. Oven declares he cannot run. Van asks Haku if he's joking with him right now. He throws Haku aside and sets his stance, saying that if Haku is ready to die, then he'll fulfill that wish and kill him first. Suddenly, Bergeton uses his summon, a rune linking to subspace connected to another dimension, and calls forth a sharp, tentacled monster that attacks down. Van realizes Bergeton is still alive and sees that the attack is aimed not at him, but at the children and Haku. The summoned entity begins slaughtering them. Van moves to seize Bergeton, but Bergeton starts retreating into his dimension, declaring that Van is too late and that he can even pull himself into it. He slips inside, thinking he has already killed Haku and the kids, so no one can expose Sir Kessarak. He curses the mess that the brat caused and decides a sorcerer with that kind of inner world needs to be reported to Sir Kessarak right away. Our boy tears open the dimension, leaving Bergeton frozen in shock. He grabs the guy's head, and the stunned mage demands to know how he even got in. Our boy says there was a small opening left before the portal shut, so he forced his magic through and broke in, then adds the guy should have locked it better since he's done dealing with dimensions. Van says he doesn't plan to kill Bergeton yet because Bergeton has filled Haken, and that he'll take him out again in about a month, telling him to just hold on. Van glares at him with a threatening look as a fierce red aura bursts from his body, unleashing dangerous monsters that make Bergeton try to flee. One of those monsters captures him with its tongue, and Bergeton wails and begs not to be taken back there. Van thrusts him back into his dimension and returns to where Haku and the children lie dead. Our boy realizes Gluttony's pocket drains too much mana, and in his weakened state, using it again could kill him. He wonders if everyone else is dead, but remembers he's got a hostage who can spill what he needs, so he decides to pull back and recover. Behind him, Haku screams that the orphan can still be saved and begs him to help. After Haku's death, a few people showed up and checked the scene. They saw how brutal the fight had been, even finding Bergeton's severed arm. Shock hit when they realized two of Tease's top members were dead. One asked his buddy Mongo if they could track who did it. Mongo said the scent was weak but still fresh enough to follow. Orders went out right away. Report to Lord Kessarak, while the two would chase the trail themselves. Before leaving, the man looked at Haku's body, wondering if this pathetic end was really what he wanted. Morning came, and the girl suddenly woke up. Our guy was right there beside her, calmly telling her she was finally awake. The girl woke up confused, asking where she was. Then everything about Haku and the kids came rushing back, and she panicked, calling for them. Our guy told her the truth. Everyone else was dead. She tried to deny it, but he said he'd buried them himself. Crushed by guilt, she broke down, asking why he even bothered to save her. He said it wasn't out of pity. He just needed her. Then it cuts to the past, Haku's dying moments. When our guy had hesitated, Haku begged him to save her, saying she wouldn't survive alone, and that she knew things about Kessarak and Tease that mattered. Before dying, Haku made him promise to get her to a village safely. Haku had believed the girl was strong enough to survive alone. When our boy asked what to do if she was useless, Haku said he could kill or spare her as he pleased, then died, leaving him to honor that final wish. Back in the present, the girl Ofen still refused to accept the truth, so our boy grabbed her by the neck and demanded to know about Kessarak. Scared, she said Kessarak was likely in the Varkan kingdom, working on a commission from the king. When asked for his description, she explained his looks always changed through emblem magic. She only knew what Haku had told her. Kessarak was born with 3 emblems, a freak rarity across the continent. Our boy sighed, realizing how bad that was, then let her go, saying she'd have to explain the rest on the way. She asked where they were going, and our boy said he had promised Haku to take her safely to a village as payment for the information she gave. Shocked but silent, she followed him out of the tunnel. At sunrise, our boy stopped by a huge stone and said he buried the kids beneath it so nothing could disturb them. He told her the children were innocent and that she should say her goodbyes. She ran to the stone and started crying. Memories filled her head. She remembered when Kessarak had beaten Haku nearly to death for protecting the kids and mocked him for wasting his life. Kessarak had threatened to kill the kids to force Haku back into being an assassin. Trembling, Haku begged for their lives and later promised to protect them. The kids teased him for sweating, and those smiles and moments of peace now filled her mind. She remembered when he opened a tiny shop called Blue Knight and proudly asked if the name sounded lucky. She'd mocked him for it, yet they'd all shared good times despite their hardships. Now, clutching the stone, her grief twisted into rage. She turned to our boy and demanded to know if he would kill Kessarak. He said he would once he had what he needed. She swore to go with him and crush Kessarak herself if necessary. Our boy watched in silence. Later, Mongo and his companion reached the same stone. Mongo sniffed the ground and said the scent was stronger now. The other man nodded, saying their target had passed through only a few hours ago. The scene shifts to another kingdom. A man walks up the stairs, knocks on a door, and enters a quiet, dark hall, reporting to Lord Kessarak. Kessarak lies on the pavement, knowing the miracle has failed. He laments raising those from the alleys only for it to end badly. Dark green energy seeps from him as he orders his men to tell Mongo and Tomoto to hold position even if they find the culprit. With a flick of his wrist, he forms a thick green mana circle, deciding that in such a crucial moment, no further variables should arise. His subordinate offers to step in personally, but Kessarak waves him off, saying there is no need to move. He plans to head to Barken Kingdom himself and leaves all trivial matters in Sufra's hands. Without raising his head, Sufra calmly accepts the order. The scene then moves to Barken Kingdom, where Kessarak arrives and asks about King Barken. Entering the royal hall, he apologizes for his delay. The king, seemingly unconcerned, asks if the assigned task is complete. Kessarak reports that all the sorcerers of their enemy, the Aran Kingdom, have been slaughtered, and he demands the promised payment. Barken smirks and wonders what might happen if the world discovers he hired a mercenary for such work. Suddenly, the doors slam shut. Kessarak realizes the king intends to silence him now that the job is done. He starts laughing like a madman. Barken assumes he has gone insane before his death and warns him not to attempt anything foolish, revealing that he has gathered 30 top-tier Barken mercenaries and the Royal Palace Death Knight to ensure a quick end. But then a green glow begins to spread around Kessarak. Barken mocks him, thinking he is still trying to play his last card. In an instant, the sky turns an eerie green, and a towering curse appears above the kingdom. The mercenaries rush to protect the king, but they are too late. The deadly spell consumes Barken and everyone in sight in a single moment. If you enjoyed this manhwa recap, make sure to like, subscribe, and join the ride. And hey, in case I don't see you again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.